In today's show, you guessed it, we're going to talk about the latest Donovan Mitchell rumors. But before we do, let's show some love to our guy, Star J, Broadway Barrett, RJ, for signing a 4-year, $120 million deal. If you're hyped up, if you're just excited that RJ is not going to be in the trade and he's going to be on the Knicks for the next 4 or 5 years at least, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon right now. Well, here we go again. Welcome into New York Knicks Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. In today's show, we're going to react to the news and the rumors that came out after RJ Barrett signed a contract extension with the New York Knicks. If you missed the news, let's break it down a little bit. So RJ Barrett signed a contract extension, but Leon Rose was going to include RJ Barrett in a trade for Donovan Mitchell. According to Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN, this was the closest the Jazz and the Knicks have been on a trade agreement, with RJ Barrett as the focal point. But Leon Rose put his foot in the ground, drew a line in the sand, and said, Danny Ainge, you have until Monday night to make a deal involving RJ Barrett, or I am going to extend him a contract extension with the poison pill in it that makes it nearly impossible for him to be traded. And then rumors came out from Woj that the trade is dead and all this and all that. But now the rumors are the trade is back on. RJ will just not be included, and there's 2 guys that Danny Ainge really wants to trade for. But let's start with this. The report, or it's not even a report, Donovan Mitchell has taken the Utah Jazz out of his Twitter and Instagram bio. That's what his Twitter bio used to look like. Be humble, former lead guard for the Jazz. And then he took it out this morning. So no more Utah Jazz, in the bio of Donovan Mitchell on Twitter. And he also did the same thing on Instagram. Yesterday, Jazz, spider emoji, prayers up. And then this morning, he takes the Jazz out of his bio. So on Twitter, on Instagram, the Utah Jazz are not being represented in Donovan Mitchell's bio on social media. And I'll share my thoughts in a second, but I want to get you guys involved early on in the comments section. Is Mitchell taking the Jazz out of his bio a big deal? I mean, he didn't just wake up this morning and go, you know what? I'm just going to, I don't know. I'm going to change my bio for no apparent reason. He's a calculated move, and that's what all NBA players do. And really, it's the new era of player movement. They like to, show signs on social media. He did so today. Let me know if you think it's a big deal, though. Type Y for yes, type N for no. We just talked about it a second ago. He didn't do this for no reason. What the reason is, I don't know. Is he upset with the Jazz? Did the Jazz tell him that he was going to be traded by Monday's deadline that Leon Rose put into place? I'm not sure. But the latest reports are the trade is not done. We all know that Donovan Mitchell does not want to play this upcoming season or the remainder of his contract with the Utah Jazz. He wants to play for the Knicks. We know all the ties, Leon Rose, CAA, the Westchester stuff, for sure. I think it just comes down to this, that Donovan Mitchell doesn't publicly want to request a trade. I think that's something that he's cautious of, because that's a bad look on your reputation and image. You come out, you haven't got out of the second round of the playoffs yet, and you're demanding a trade. I don't think he wants to do that. But a nice little chirp, a little slick like, hey, Danny, you see this? I'm going to get Twitter fired up and take the Jazz out of my bio. Make what you want of it. I think it is definitely something needed to be talked about, and that's why we spent a couple minutes about it. Here at New York Knicks Now, we are growing like crazy. We've almost doubled our subscriber count in the past 3 months, and we are at the doorstep of 13,000 subscribers. So if you're looking for a one-stop shop on YouTube that puts out Knicks videos every single day, no other Knicks channel last night, besides New York Knicks Now by Chat Sports, was live at 1 a.m. on the East Coast, breaking down the latest Donovan Mitchell and RJ Barrett news and rumors. That's why you subscribe. Hit that big red button. Let's get to 13,000 subscribers on today's video. I think we can do it. Just piss off Danny Ainge at this point. The latest reports are that the Jazz value just 3 players on the New York Knicks roster. This is coming from Tony Jones of The Athletic. Obi Toppin, Quentin Grimes, and RJ Barrett. And with the new contract extension, which includes the poison pill, RJ Barrett is essentially untradeable. And for this deal to get done at this point, it sucks to say, but Obi Toppin and Quentin Grimes are going to have to be involved. So for all the people that say, I want Donovan Mitchell on the Knicks, you may want him at your price, but you have to want him enough to go out and meet the needs of Danny Ainge. And right now, he wants Obi Toppin and he wants Quentin Grimes. He liked RJ. That was the focal point. They were closer than they ever were, but they were unable to get a deal done. Now they have to restart the framework of the deal, and I believe it starts with Obi and Quentin Grimes. This is what Tony Jones of The Athletic had to say in his write-up this morning. He said, the news about Barrett's extension almost certainly takes him out of the equation. So the Jazz are going to have to ask and answer this question. Is the deal of the rest of the Knicks can offer worth further discussion, negotiation, and progress towards a possible deal? On Monday night, league sources told The Athletic that the Knicks are banking on the answer being yes. New York still feels it has the best package the Jazz can get for Mitchell. But now the question is, the Knicks have to answer for themselves, is how far are they willing to go to get him? And we need to acknowledge this. What other move do the Utah Jazz have right now? Because Adrian Wojnarowski in his article last night, which we'll show you in a second, and he said it again on Get Up this morning on ESPN, they don't have any deal, framework, or traction with any other team in the NBA. It's the Knicks or bust at this point. And I like what Tony Jones said. How far are the Knicks willing to go? Because remember, a couple of days ago, Shams Charania reported, the other one, Seeps, you were right. Shams Charania reported that this was the trade offer that the New York Knicks made to the Utah Jazz. Obi Toppin, Evan Fournier, additional salary, probably Miles McBride, and 5 first-round picks, 2 being unprotected. This trade was declined by the Utah Jazz. And if RJ Barrett's not going to be in the deal, you're going to have to find other ways to sweeten the pot. And I think this is what a trade would have to look like. It would be Evan Fournier, Quentin Grimes, Obi Toppin, 5 first-round picks, but instead of 2 unprotected, it is 3 unprotected, and you're throwing in Quentin Grimes as well as Obi Toppin. It costs to be the boss, and you got to spend money to make money. And if you make this trade, Donovan Mitchell's going to make you a lot of money. But you might miss out on all-star careers from Quentin Grimes and Obi Toppin. I want all the real ones right now, though, to answer this question in the comment section for me. Would you make this trade? Do you really want Donovan Mitchell? Because if you do, this is what you're going to have to give up. Young players in Grimes and Toppin and 3 unprotected first-round picks. Sound off for me. Type A for accept or D for decline. I want to give a shout out to all of the real ones out there because you guys have been holding it down. And so much so that I told my bosses, we got to get a real one Knicks Now themed t-shirt. And they answered the bell. And you guys have also been answering the bell by getting your gear. Get one today. Go to chatsports.com/real Knicks. That's chatsports.com/real Knicks. The link to that will be in the comments and description of today's video. And remember, if you get a shirt, take a picture of it, you rocking it, send it to me on Twitter @MarshallGreen_, and we'll put it on the show. I want to touch now on what Adrian Wojnarowski said. No other team wants to trade for Donovan Mitchell. There's no other substantial offers out there. The Knicks know it's me versus me. They're not going to compete with themselves. The Knicks believe their B offer is better than any A offer that any other team in the NBA can trade. First, we'll look at Tony Jones's quote, and then we'll backdoor it with what Woj said, because there's kind of different reports going on right here. You're good. Here we go. What does he say? So he said, the Jazz aren't seriously engaged elsewhere on a Mitchell deal, sources said, which makes real the possibility that he could still be on the roster for the start of training camp. At this point, it's the trade. The trade is the Knicks to lose. Adrian Wojnarowski just told you that there are no other trades out there that are on the table for Donovan Mitchell. The only team that can come up to the asking price of Danny Ainge is Leon Rose in the New York Knicks. But somewhat conflicting reports here a little bit. Let's look at what Tony Jones had to say. He said the Jazz holding on to Mitchell, which they have repeatedly indicated that they are happy to do, sources with direct knowledge of the situation say, brings significant risk. It will require Mitchell, who is currently working out in Miami and preparing for the season, to buy into what the Jazz are doing. It will require Mitchell to play through any lingering disappointment of not being traded. The Jazz don't feel that will be an issue and have always been high on Mitchell's overall character. But the question once training camp starts will still be asked, and his mere presence will be a dominant topic. The Jazz may be cool with holding on to a guy like Donovan Mitchell going into the season, but I truly believe in my heart of hearts that Danny Ainge does not and will not build his roster around Donovan Mitchell. Go back 3-4 months ago. Danny Ainge said he doesn't believe that Donovan Mitchell is the type of player you can build a roster around and doesn't believe he's a max type of player. Why would he build around that? And if he was willing to build around it, why hasn't he made a move? Not one move this summer that makes the Jazz better right now. I believe 100% that the Jazz are willing to go into the season with Donovan Mitchell on the roster. But the intention there is to hold him, to trade him, not to hold him, to keep him and build around him. That is a huge, huge difference that everybody needs to understand. Also, Adrian Wojnarowski says the Jazz are committed to starting a rebuild after trading all-star center Rudy Gobert. So, like we've said, the Jazz are rebuilding, but Tony Jones just said that the Jazz are open to keeping Donovan Mitchell going into the season. So which one is it? Are they rebuilding or are they keeping him to build around him? I'll tell you, and I've been telling you for months, and if you made it this far in the video, you're a real one, you know. We told you 3 months ago, the Jazz do not want to build around Donovan Mitchell. They want to rebuild. They want to get picks. They traded multiple players on the roster for first-round picks already. Royce O'Neal, Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell is going to just be the next pillar to fall as Danny Ainge is trying to tear it down in Utah and build it up with his fingerprints all over this roster. I want to close out today's show after all of that rambling and stuff like that. What's a poison pill contract? Because that's what RJ Barrett got in his contract extension last night, 4 years, $120 million. The deal's laced with incentives, so he's going to be making about $30 million per. But what's a poison pill contract? That's a lot of people's topic of conversation today. This is what Woj said to break it down. He said, for trade purposes, the poison pill is computed with the formula that would put the Knicks' outgoing salary for a Barrett trade at $11 million, but requires the incoming salary for a team acquiring him to be $26.2 million. The restriction will be lifted next offseason, July 1st. So in other words, RJ Barrett ain't getting traded. It's hard to acquire someone for $10 million, $11 million and trade back $27 million in cap space. This is what happened. Leon Rose said, yo, Danny Ainge, you really want RJ Barrett? He said, yeah, I want him. And he said this. He said, if you want him, you have to make a deal for him by Monday night, or I am going to extend his contract, which will be worked in a way that makes it nearly impossible for him to be traded. He didn't bite. Credit to Danny Ainge for that. But at the end of the day, RJ is a Knick, and it sounded like the Jazz really wanted RJ. They missed out, and I still do believe that a trade can and potentially will happen involving the Knicks and Donovan Mitchell. I want to give a shout-out to everybody that made it this far in today's video. Shout-out to everybody that joined the live last night. We had over 250 people watching at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. on the East Coast. That was awesome. You guys showed up and showed out. So if you're a real one, drop a real one in the comment section, and we'll see you later on New York Knicks Now.